The Haunting of the Amityville House. In November 1974, the quiet town of Amityville, New York, became the epicenter of a terrifying supernatural ordeal that would go down in history as one of the most famous haunted house stories ever told. The story began when the Lutz family, consisting of George and Kathy Lutz and their 3 children, moved into a beautiful Dutch colonial house at 112 Ocean Avenue. Little did they know that this idyllic-looking house had a gruesome and sinister past. Just a year before the Lutz family's arrival, the house was the site of a horrifying and gruesome mass murder. Ronald DeFeo Jr., the previous occupant of the house, had shot and killed 6 members of his own family while they slept. It was a chilling and inexplicable crime that sent shockwaves through the community. Ronald DeFeo Jr. claimed that voices in the house had compelled him to commit these heinous acts. When the Lutz family moved in, they were initially captivated by the house's charm and character. The spacious rooms, the cozy fireplaces, and the view of the Amityville River from their backyard all seemed perfect. However, it wasn't long before they began to experience a series of eerie and unexplained phenomena that would forever change their lives. The first signs of something amiss were subtle, but unsettling. Strange odors permeated the house, ranging from sickly sweet perfumes to the stench of decay. Doors and windows would open and close by themselves, and cold spots seemed to linger in certain rooms, no matter how high they cranked up the heat. Bizarrely, flies swarmed the house in the dead of winter, gathering in unusual patterns that defied natural explanation. As the days turned into weeks, the Lutz family's experiences escalated. They claimed to have seen apparitions, shadowy figures that moved through the hallways and rooms, often accompanied by an overwhelming sense of dread. Kathy Lutz was particularly affected, waking up at 3:15 a.m., the same time the DeFeo murders had occurred, plagued by terrifying nightmares and unexplained bruises on her body. George Lutz's behavior began to change as well. He became increasingly irritable and withdrawn, spending long hours in the basement, which he claimed was unnaturally cold. He even woke up one morning to find his hair had turned completely white, a shocking transformation attributed to the house's malevolent influence. The most disturbing event occurred when George Lutz began hearing voices urging him to harm his family. The walls seemed to pulse with a sinister energy, and green slime oozed from the walls, as if the house itself was bleeding. George, fearing for his family's safety, reached out to paranormal investigators for help. Among those who came to investigate the Amityville house were Ed and Lorraine Warren, renowned paranormal investigators famous for their work on other cases, including the Annabelle doll and the Perron family haunting, as depicted in the Conjuring series of films. The Warrens believed that the house was infested with malevolent spirits, possibly drawn to it due to the residual energy from the DeFeo murders. During their investigations, the Warrens documented numerous eerie occurrences. They recorded unexplained noises, captured photographs with strange anomalies, and reported feelings of extreme cold and malevolence in certain areas of the house. These findings later became part of the basis for their book, The Amityville Horror, which recounted the Lutz family's terrifying experiences in great detail. The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson, based on the Warrens' investigations and the Lutz family's accounts, became a bestseller upon its release. The book sent shockwaves through popular culture, and the story of the Amityville haunting was adapted into a series of movies, further cementing its place in the annals of paranormal lore. The Amityville haunting story has sparked intense debate over the years. Skeptics question the validity of the Lutz family's claims, suggesting that they might have fabricated the story for financial gain. Others argue that the house is indeed haunted, pointing to the corroborating evidence collected by the Warrens and the enduring sense of dread that seems to hang over the property. To this day, 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville remains a place of fascination and fear, drawing curious visitors and paranormal enthusiasts. Whether one believes the story of the Amityville haunting to be fact or fiction, it undeniably stands as a chilling and enduring mystery in the realm of the supernatural, reminding us that sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that claim to be true. The Enfield Poltergeist, the true story behind The Conjuring 2. In the late 1970s, a modest house in Enfield, North London, became the center of a paranormal phenomenon that both baffled and terrified the family living there. The Hodgson family, consisting of Peggy Hodgson and her 4 children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy, found themselves thrust into a nightmarish ordeal that would go down in history as the Enfield Poltergeist case. It all began innocuously enough with strange but seemingly harmless events. It started with unexplained knocking sounds and furniture moving on its own. Peggy, a single mother struggling to make ends meet, initially brushed these occurrences off as pranks or figments of her children's imagination. However, the incidents quickly escalated into something far more sinister. The paranormal activity intensified, and Janet, the 11-year-old daughter, became the primary target. She would often be hurled across rooms by an unseen force, seemingly defying the laws of physics. Janet's voice changed dramatically during these episodes, taking on an eerie, guttural quality, and she spoke in languages she had never learned. Furniture levitated and spun in the air. Objects were thrown across rooms with tremendous force, and family members reported feeling invisible hands gripping them. The house was filled with a chilling presence, and it was clear that something malevolent was at play. The Hodgson family turned to the police and the media for help, hoping to bring attention to their terrifying situation. It was during these interactions with law enforcement and the press that some of the most compelling evidence of the haunting emerged. Photographs captured Janet levitating above her bed, and audio recordings captured her speaking in strange, otherworldly voices. One of the most famous incidents involved investigator Maurice Grosse, who witnessed a chair moving by itself. When he attempted to sit in it, the chair inexplicably tilted backward, sending him sprawling to the floor. Grosse, along with fellow investigator Guy Lyon Playfair, became convinced that the Enfield case was genuine and not a hoax. Ed and Lorraine Warren, renowned paranormal investigators, also became involved in the Enfield Poltergeist case. They visited the Hodgson family and conducted investigations, lending further credibility to the claims of supernatural activity. The Enfield Poltergeist case garnered widespread attention, both in the UK and internationally. Skeptics questioned the authenticity of the events, suggesting that the Hodgson family had fabricated the entire story for attention or financial gain. However, investigators, including Grosse and Playfair, as well as the Warrens, remained convinced that the haunting was real. The case continued for over a year, during which the Hodgson family endured terrifying ordeals, but eventually, the intensity of the paranormal activity subsided. Janet Hodgson returned to a semblance of normalcy, and the family was able to regain some sense of stability. While the Enfield Poltergeist case remains one of the most well-documented and controversial in the annals of paranormal research, it has left an indelible mark on popular culture. The event served as the inspiration for the film The Conjuring 2, directed by James Wan. The movie brought the Enfield haunting to a new generation of horror enthusiasts and reignited the debate over its authenticity. To this day, the Enfield Poltergeist case remains a perplexing and unsettling chapter in the history of the paranormal. Whether one believes it to be a genuine haunting or a complex hoax, it stands as a testament to the enduring fascination with the unknown and the inexplicable forces that sometimes intrude upon our everyday lives. The Dyatlov Pass Incident, a cold and mysterious case. In the frigid winter of 1959, a group of 10 experienced hikers embarked on a challenging expedition in the Ural Mountains of Russia. They were led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student, and their goal was to reach Otorten, a mountain about 10 kilometers north of their final campsite, in a region known as the Northern Ural. The hikers were well prepared and equipped for the harsh conditions, but what transpired during their journey remains one of the most chilling and perplexing mysteries in the annals of true crime and unexplained phenomena. As the group ventured deeper into the wilderness, they faced extreme weather conditions, including heavy snowfall and bitterly cold temperatures. On the night of February 2, 1959, They made camp on the slopes of Kolatsyakal, or Dead Mountain, a name that would soon take on an eerie significance. The journey should have been routine for these seasoned hikers, but something went terribly wrong. Weeks passed without any word from the group, and their families grew increasingly concerned. Finally, a search and rescue team was dispatched to find them. What the search team discovered was both baffling and horrifying. The hikers' tent had been abandoned, slashed open from the inside, with all of their belongings left behind. Footprints led away from the campsite, showing that the hikers had fled barefoot and in various states of undress despite the sub-zero temperatures. The first bodies were found not far from the campsite, buried in the snow. They were clad only in underwear and socks, and their bodies showed signs of exposure to the cold. Strangely, there were no visible external injuries or signs of a struggle. Autopsies later revealed that some of the hikers had sustained internal injuries, including fractured ribs and a fractured skull, but there were no indications of a physical altercation. As the search continued, the remaining bodies were discovered deeper in the forest. These hikers had apparently attempted to make a makeshift shelter in a den dug out of the snow, but it offered little protection from the elements. The last two bodies were found months later, buried under several meters of snow. They were better dressed than the others, but had also succumbed to the cold. What could have driven these experienced hikers to flee their campsite in such a panic, especially in their undergarments, in the middle of the night? Theories abound, ranging from avalanches to military involvement, from animal attacks to infrasound, a low-frequency sound that can cause discomfort and panic in humans. The official Soviet investigation concluded that the hikers had died of a compelling natural force, which only added to the mystery. The details of the investigation were classified, further fueling speculation and conspiracy theories. Decades later, in the 1990s, the Russian government declassified some of the case files, shedding a little more light on the incident. Yet the Dyatlov Pass incident remains a chilling enigma. Theories and speculation continue to swirl around this tragic event, with no conclusive explanation ever offered. The eerie circumstances surrounding the Dyatlov Pass incident have captured the imaginations of people around the world, inspiring numerous books, documentaries, and even fictionalized accounts. To this day, it stands as a stark reminder of the vast, unforgiving wilderness and the mysteries that can unfold in the most remote and treacherous corners of the earth. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most enduring and chilling unsolved mysteries in history, serving as a testament to the unpredictable and mysterious forces of nature and the human spirit's enduring quest for answers. The Exorcism of Anneliese Michel. The real story of the exorcism of Emily Rose. In the small town of Klingenberg, Germany, in the early 1970s, a young woman named Anneliese Michel was about to become the center of a haunting and deeply disturbing case of demonic possession. Her ordeal, which ultimately resulted in her tragic death, has been the subject of fascination, controversy, and cinematic adaptation, most notably in the film The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Anneliese Michel was a devoutly religious girl raised in a strict Catholic family. However, her life took a dark turn when at the age of 16, she began experiencing bizarre and disturbing symptoms. She started suffering from seizures, hearing voices, and exhibiting behavior that seemed far removed from her usual self. Her family, concerned for her well-being, sought medical and psychiatric help. Medical professionals diagnosed Anneliese with epilepsy and depression, prescribing medication to manage her symptoms. However, the treatments proved ineffective, and Anneliese's condition continued to deteriorate. She became increasingly isolated, unable to attend school or socialize with friends. As her condition worsened, Anneliese and her family began to believe that her affliction might be more than a medical or psychological disorder. They became convinced that she was possessed by demons. Her behavior included speaking in strange languages she had never learned, exhibiting superhuman strength, and displaying an aversion to religious symbols and artifacts. Desperate for help, Anneliese and her family turned to the Catholic Church, seeking an exorcism. The process of obtaining permission for an exorcism was not easy. as the Catholic Church is known for its cautious approach to such matters. However, after much persistence and evaluation by clergy, the Church eventually granted permission for an exorcism to be performed. Over a period of several months from 1975 to 1976, a series of exorcism sessions were conducted on Anneliese Michel. These sessions were grueling, often lasting for hours, and were physically and emotionally exhausting for both Anneliese and the attending priests. Anneliese's condition continued to worsen during the exorcisms, and her health deteriorated significantly. She refused to eat, believing that her suffering was a form of atonement for the sins of others. She eventually became emaciated and dehydrated, leading to pneumonia and malnutrition. Tragically, on July 1, 1976, Anneliese Michel passed away in her home. She was just 23 years old. The official cause of death was determined to be starvation and dehydration. Her death raised profound ethical and legal questions, resulting in a trial that garnered significant media attention. In 1978, both the priests who had conducted the exorcisms and Anneliese's parents were charged with negligent homicide. The trial that followed was highly contentious, with the defense arguing that Anneliese was genuinely possessed and that they had sought the Church's help in good faith. The court found the defendants guilty but issued relatively light sentences, taking into account the family's suffering and their belief that they were trying to help Anneliese. The story of Anneliese Michel's possession and exorcism continues to generate debate. Skeptics view the case as an example of mental illness and suggest that her condition could have been treated with medical intervention. Believers, however, point to the extraordinary phenomena witnessed during the exorcisms as evidence of demonic possession. The Exorcism of Emily Rose, a film loosely based on Anneliese's story, explores the legal and moral complexities of her case. Regardless of one's beliefs, the tragic tale of Anneliese Michel serves as a stark reminder of the intersection of religion, mental health, and the enduring human fascination with the supernatural. The Mothman Prophecies, Strange Encounters in Point Pleasant. In the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, between 1966 and 1967, residents experienced a series of bizarre and unsettling encounters with a creature that would become known as the Mothman. These strange events, accompanied by reports of eerie sightings and unexplained phenomena, have fascinated and mystified people for decades. The Mothman's tale began on the evening of November 15, 1966, when two couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Malata, were driving near an abandoned munitions factory known as the TNT area. As they approached a remote area known as the McClintock Wildlife Management Area, they spotted a tall, winged figure with glowing red eyes standing near the factory gate. Terrified by the sight of this bizarre creature, the couple sped away, but the creature pursued them, effortlessly keeping up with their car even as it reached speeds of up to 100 miles per hour. Only when they reached the Point Pleasant city limits did the Mothman vanish into the night. The following day, the couples reported their encounter to the local authorities, who were initially skeptical, but soon became inundated with similar reports from other residents. Eyewitness accounts described a creature roughly 7 feet tall, with enormous wings and piercing red eyes. It was often described as having the ability to glide or hover just above the ground. In the weeks that followed, Point Pleasant was gripped by a sense of fear and unease. More sightings of the Mothman were reported, often accompanied by strange electrical disturbances, malfunctioning car engines, and mysterious phone calls with eerie metallic voices. Many who saw the creature experienced intense feelings of dread and foreboding. Journalist John Keel, who arrived in Point Pleasant to investigate the phenomenon, documented these strange occurrences in his book, The Mothman Prophecies. Keel's research suggested that the Mothman sightings were connected to a broader series of paranormal events, including UFO sightings, Men in Black encounters, and a bridge collapse that claimed the lives of 46 people on December 15, 1967, exactly 1 year after the first Mothman sighting. Keel proposed various theories about the Mothman, including the idea that it was a harbinger of doom or a manifestation of psychic energy. He also explored the possibility of a government conspiracy or a connection to extraterrestrial beings. The Mothman phenomenon continued to mystify and terrify residents of Point Pleasant, but as quickly as it had begun, it seemed to vanish. Sightings of the creature grew less frequent, and the town gradually returned to a sense of normalcy. Despite the passage of time, the legend of the Mothman endures. Point Pleasant embraces its eerie reputation and hosts an annual Mothman Festival, drawing visitors from around the world. Statues, artwork, and memorabilia dedicated to the creature can be found throughout the town. The Mothman's true nature and purpose remain a subject of debate and speculation. Some view it as a purely paranormal phenomenon, while others attribute it to folklore, mass hysteria, or natural explanations such as large owls or sandhill cranes. Regardless of one's beliefs, the Mothman continues to be a symbol of the unexplained and the enduring allure of the mysterious and unknown in the human psyche.